The Cold War was a battle fought in the shadows, a global chess match between the United States and the Soviet Union, each side armed with nuclear weapons powerful enough to erase humanity. The arms race grew ever more dangerous, and intelligence became just as valuable as missiles or bombs. To stay ahead, both nations pushed science and secrecy to the limit, creating weapons and machines that had never been seen before. It was in this tense atmosphere that one aircraft, the U-2 spy plane, took flight, and one man, Francis Gary Powers, became the center of an international crisis. Francis Gary Powers was born on August 17, 1929, in Jenkins, Kentucky, a small coal mining town. Raised in a working-class family, he developed a passion for aviation early in life. He began his service as a photo lab technician, but in November 1951, he was accepted for flight training. A year later, in December 1952, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant after completing advanced training on the T-33 and F-80 jet aircraft at Williams Air Force Base in Arizona. Powers then joined the 468 Strategic Fighter Squadron at Turner Air Force Base, Georgia, flying Republic F-84 Thunderjets. In October 1953, he was sent to Sandia Base in New Mexico to train in loading and dropping nuclear weapons, skills reflecting the rising tensions of the Cold War. In January 1956, Powers was recruited by the Central Intelligence Agency to fly its most secret aircraft, the U-2. He resigned his Air Force commission, joined the CIA as a civilian pilot, and trained in the Nevada desert at the remote Watertown Strip, later known as Area 51. By August of that year, his training was zero complete, and he was deployed to Incirlik Air Base in Turkey with a special CIA unit known as Detachment 1010. The U-2, nicknamed the Dragon Lady, was a revolutionary aircraft built for one purpose: reconnaissance at the edge of space. With a wingspan of over 31 meters, it resembled a giant glider powered by a single Pratt & Whitney J57 turbojet engine. The aircraft could fly above 70,000 feet, more than 21,000 meters, far higher than any Soviet fighter of the time. It could travel over 4,600 kilometers in a single mission and was fitted with cameras capable of photographing entire military complexes in extraordinary detail. But the U-2 had weaknesses. Its long wings made it fragile in turbulence. It was too slow and unarmored to evade interceptors if caught, and at such extreme altitudes, the margin for error in flight was razor-thin. Pilots wore full-pressure suits to survive the hostile environment, where the temperature outside dropped below -50 degrees Celsius. Missions were dangerous, but the intelligence they provided was invaluable. By 1960, Powers had become one of the CIA's most experienced U-2 pilots. On May 1st, he took off from Peshawar, Pakistan, on a deep penetration mission across the Soviet Union. His goal was to photograph nuclear missile sites and key military installations. The Soviets had been aware of U-2 flights for some time. Their radar systems tracked the aircraft, but their defenses could not reach its altitude. On this day, however, Soviet forces were on high alert. Powers' U-2 was detected and became a priority target. Interceptor aircraft, including a Sukhoi Su-9, were scrambled with orders to ram the U-2 if necessary. The pilot, however, never made visual contact. The U-2 was flying far too high. Instead, ground radar operators distinguished two signals, one from the Soviet interceptor flying lower and one from Powers' U-2 high above. Once the correct track was identified, an S-75 Divina surface-to-air missile was launched. The missile struck the U-2, blowing off its tail. Powers ejected from the disintegrating aircraft and parachuted into Soviet territory, where he was quickly captured. The Soviets not only had the pilot alive, but also recovered much of the U-2 wreckage and its cameras, which contained undeveloped film. The United States initially attempted a cover-up, claiming the aircraft was a NASA weather research plane that had gone off course. President Eisenhower and his advisors hoped the explanation would contain the crisis, but the Soviets revealed that Powers had survived, along with displaying the aircraft's reconnaissance equipment. The cover-up collapsed, and the embarrassment was enormous. Powers was put on trial for espionage in Moscow in August 1960. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, 3 years in custody, followed by 7 in a labor camp. In reality, he served just 17 months. On February 10, 1962, Powers was exchanged for Soviet spy Rudolf Abel in a dramatic prisoner swap on Berlin's Glienicke Bridge. The U-2 incident was a turning point in the Cold War. It embarrassed the United States on the world stage, destroyed a planned summit between President Eisenhower and Premier Nikita Khrushchev, and revealed the vulnerability of even the most advanced aircraft. In response, the United States accelerated the development of satellite reconnaissance to reduce the risks of manned overflights. Francis Gary Powers returned home to a divided public. Some called him a hero. Others questioned why he had not destroyed the U-2 before capture. In time, however, his role was recognized for what it was: a pilot who risked his life in the dangerous shadow war of intelligence gathering.